I am UK. Warm stone good, berries sweet, belly quiet, sky big, river talk soft. I sleep close to rocks a wind not bite. I wake when light push eyes open and little things buzz around ears. I smell rain far away and dust near my nose. I pat chest. I alive. Across the dry valley, the mountain pretends to be asleep, its long shoulders draped in cloud like white fur, pulled low over a giant's face. The season is generous. Roots peel easily from damp soil along seeps, figs swell in shaded gullies, and the night hunts have been cautious, but not desperate. These slopes belong to more than us. Lions pass at dusk like old arguments. Hyenas laugh at their own jokes, and high above on the grass shoulders, horned herds chew and watch. Every track, every scratch on bark writes a line in a living ledger. We are one line among many, thin but stubborn ink. I sit. I pick tick from arm hair. I eat. Crunch good. I throw tick to bird. Bird say tisk, then fly. I laugh like cough. I point to far hill where cloud chew on black rock. I call that place Big Sleep Hill. Hill sometimes spit little smoke like elder when he chew bitter root. But mostly hill quiet. When hill quiet, we quiet. The gases have been leaking more often. A bite in the throat during late evening, an acrid film on the tongue when the wind falls away. Down in the low bowls where water sometimes sits and sometimes vanishes, the air pools heavy in the hollows. The others don't measure it, but they feel it, resent it. Step around it in the way that ant trails veer around sap. Our bodies learn before our mouths can. Our days are a chain of small avoidances and accidental wisdom. I walk with stick good. I hit bush give beetle pop like seed. I grin. I carry skull from old kill, smooth and bright, make it sing when wind passes holes. I talk into skull, it talk back in little voice. I tell skull, we strong. Skull tell me, maybe. I laugh at skull. Skull not laugh at me. We have been the clever ones only by accident. We learned to dig where leopards do not wait, to nap where the wind carries our stink toward the hyena dens. So they think we are more than we are. And to break bones when the big mouths leave, so the good marrow slides out like fat light. Our tricks are not lessons. They are scars repeated. We do not own the world, we borrow it between storms. Night comes slow, like big animals sitting down. I look at friend Tall Leg. He pick burrs from feet and show me tooth. Tooth shining. He say with eyes, food good, today good. I throw him little fruit. He miss. We laugh, we scratch, we sleep. The tremors begin the way hunger begins. Quietly, in the corners of knowing, so faint a quiver that your skin tells your bones before your ears tell your head. First it is just the quill cups of acacia raining seeds at once. Then it is dust drifting in thin laces from a cliff face that has pretended solidity for months. We call it the ground's sigh. The mountain calls it rehearsal, ground shiver. I hold breath. I say, no. Ground say, yes. Rock little by little jump like flea. Leaves whisper to dirt. Old ones stir in dark and make throat sound. Babies cling with feet and hands, wet-eyed. I taste metal in mouth like blood, but not blood. Our valley is a bowl with the lip chipped on the mountainside, and when winds fail at night, any heavy breath, carbon, sulfur, damp and deadly, spills down the chipped side and lies in the bowls like black water. We know to sleep higher when the frogs stop calling, and the little night hawks circle low with confusion in their strokes. We do not know the words for density or solubility, but we know death when it chooses a path that looks like a footpath. I dream. In dream, he'll open big red mouth and say, "Come." I say, "No." He'll laugh like thunder in belly. I wake with a wet face. Not rain. Face water from inside. I smell egg gone bad. I hear ground sing low song. I do not like that song. There are songs the earth sings only when it is cracking its own teeth. Microquakes stutter through the core of the cone. Dikes push and fail. A bead of basalt licks up and kisses cold air, then retreats, embarrassed to gather strength. The animals react first. Baboons take to mid-slopes where they can see both the grass sea and the stone teeth. Zebras spin in place, unsure whether the wind's sour taste is storm or predator. Even the termites seal ventilation shafts with frantic spit. 1,000,000 years is not long enough to forget this language. I make mark, stone to stone, scratch, line like snake, circle like eye. I hit stone again. Sparks like tiny suns jump then die. I whisper to sparks, "Stay." Sparks go away. I frown. My belly say, "Eat now." I find root. Root fight little with ground, I win. Still mornings become rare. The wind shoulders along the ravines with a weight that has nothing to do with air. When the mountain finally speaks, it does so as if the sky had been gagged for months. And suddenly the cloth is ripped away. The exhale is huge and mean and filled with grit, and the voice of it punches the lungs from the inside. Ash blooms upward, a column like an inverted river, boiling with its own thunder, pulling lightning from the very bones of cloud. We are dumb before it, even in our cleverness. I see day turn dark like night. Open eyes big, darkness not blink, wind slap face like angry mother. Hair stand like grass in storm. The hill show teeth, long red teeth, and spit bright stones that scream. We crouch, we shout without words, we point everywhere and nowhere. The world is too much. The column does not hold. It collapses, its spine broken by the weight of what it has stolen from beneath. Then comes the sound that animals do not make, a rolling hunger that outruns itself, air torn into speed, particles fused to knives by heat. Pyroclastic flows detach from the broken column and race the valley floor. Dry avalanches of ash, glass, pumice and gas, hot enough to cook breath as far away as a shadow can reach, fast enough to outpace terror. I run. Feet do not find ground, they find other feet. I hit, I tumble, I hit again. I stand. I run crooked. Heat lick back of neck like lion tongue. But lion tongue not peel skin. This tongue peel. I put arm over face. I cough, cough not stop. Eyes cry, but the tears turn to mud. I see nothing. Then I see everything. Shapes of trees become ghosts, then bones, then nothing. I hear babies in the dark, then I do not. Some of the flows bounce across the upper ridges and slough into side canyons, routing around boulders with the intelligence of water and the cruelty of flame. Others ride the main draw, pouring into the bowls where we have slept for so long. The gas surges skim forward like invisible knives ahead of the grey waves. Heavy as regret, hugging the ground, erasing the lungs from those who stand on river stones to pray. Later, when a lahar, a slurry of melted snow, ash and torn mountain, slides down, it will lay a concrete over everything. But now it is the sandstorm of hell, and it spares only the margins. I find high place, not so high, but higher than others. I push shoulder into stone, until stone move little, make snug. I say to blood in ears, be quiet. Blood shout more. I bite wrist to feel something not heat. I smell hair burn, hair singe. I remember water. I remember it cold and telling small truths. I tell feet, go. Feet say, later. The body's desire to remain still in heat is a kind of suicide. Better to move, even blindly, even into thorns, than to let the heat use you for practice. So I go sideways, along a line of old lava that juts into the ash flow like a stubborn old man's chin. The wind has a direction and I choose the other one. The ground hiss-crackles, a whisper made from 10,000 blades of silica. My shadow disappears as if it is ashamed to belong to me. I hear river before I see river. River say, come, come, come. I go. The ground falls into black steps, and then the steps end. I slide. I hit water that bites like cold teeth. I go under. The world go quiet except for bubbles that tell me secrets, then tell me nothing. I push up. I cough water and ash. Water carry grey skin, grey leaves, grey air. Water say, hold fast. I hold a root that hold me back. Root is friend. Water is not a cure for the flow, it is a boundary. The heavy gases skim over like a ghost, impatient with crossings. If you stay low in the midstream and keep only your mouth above, the flow's fingers will reach but not grasp. If you cling to the bank, the gases will tuck you back into the earth they think owns you. The choice is simple and terrible. I choose the middle. I taste stone and fear. The night after the first roar tastes like an old coin, dry metal, ash, the sour of a seed crushed too hard. The stars above the ash veil are dim, like watchers behind dirty glass. I shiver not only because the river eats warmth, but because the mountain continues to breathe in its sleep, a slow heave that moves the air without moving the leaves. Sometimes the clouds inside the column flash, and for an eye blink the world looks like the inside of an eyelid when you press too hard. I sleep little, I dream strange. In dream, I walk in white rain that makes no wet. It piles light on my shoulders. I sink slow, I laugh. Mouth fills with dust. I wake spitting stones no bigger than teeth. Taste blood. The river hums a low belly song. It forgives nothing. Dawn arrives wrong. The light steps sideways into the valley, confused by the sky's new weight. Birds do not test their voices. We test our legs. I climb out, my hands leaving wet grey ghosts on stones. The trees are statues of themselves, black spines stitched with brittle lace. The place where we nested is a new geography made in a night, flat plains where hollows were, new edges where curves were, a world simplified by removal. I call. My call is a little question tossed into a vast room. No one answers with anything but wind. When a local group disappears, evolution does not write a note. It merely recalculates the weight of a particular behavior in the next generation that never arrives. Loss is not a law, it is an arithmetic. But to the one survivor, loss is a country he does not know how to leave. I walk through our old routes, as if they were etched on my bones. But the landmarks are performance now, costumes on another trunk. The old fig looks like a burned ear. The sleeping ledge is a bite mark on a new cliff. I talk to the air in small words because big ones might break. I say names. Names jump from tongue and fall like heavy fruit. I pick them up with eyes and set them back on a shelf somewhere behind my head. I do not let them touch the ground again. Ground has taken enough. The body invents errands to avoid grief. Mine says, climb, scout, find water that is not a knife, find fruit that is not a memory, make a mark that outlasts breath. I gather a piece of charcoal half-baked in a log, light as guilt, and I find a wall the flows forgot, a cheek of basalt, smoothed by ancient rain, angled where future eyes could see, but present hands can reach. I press the charcoal's black into stone. I draw mountain with teeth. I draw long wind like snake. I draw little many us as dots that move away, a river of legs. I draw the low place with a heavy tongue over it, so any eye knows to avoid. I do not know signs like you know signs. I know scratches that want to be remembered. My wrist shakes when I draw. The shaking makes the snake look alive. Good. If this were a story with words, the words would be instructions. Climb when the ground growls. Breathe where water runs. Do not trust the silence after the fire. Make camp on the wind side of hollows. Listen to frogs. If they leave, you are too low. We have no words. We have ambition to leave a little echo that is not voice. I walk. The ground is hot below the cool ash crust. Like a sleeping animal that hates you, my feet learn to read the crust. The places where it sounds hollow, like a drum, mean thin skin over teeth of glass. The places where it puffs like flour mean safe for now. Safe for now is the only flavor of safe the valley offers. I find bone, not old bone. New. The color of new bone is a kind of lie. It looks like it remembers skin. I do not touch at first. Touching would decide something I am not ready to decide. I sit near and do not look directly. The ash makes small sounds when it cools. 1,000 baked beans breaking their skins in slow apology. I press charcoal to stone until fingers turn black. Then I touch bone. It is warm in the way that a memory is warm, from the inside out. In time, hours, days, the way distance gets measured by thirst. The mountain shifts from rage to the sulk of a child exhausted by its own tantrum. The ash still drifts from higher winds, but that is weather, not will. The loudness becomes small. The smallness becomes odd. The oddness becomes normal because living insists on a normal, even when ruin sits in the middle of it like a new god. I go to the rim, higher where grass not dead but sad. There I see bighorn herds in far light. They stand with heads like arrow points, listening with their legs. Predators have scat that tells of ash and mice. Everything has ash in it now. Water, breath, silence. I choose a path that skirts the bowls where the heavy air sleeps, because I have learned more fear. Fear is a map drawn in the souls. The first fruit after ash is a miracle exactly once. Afterward, it is an act of habit. I chew slowly, feeling the grit of floating glass scratch the back teeth, and I praise nothing out loud, because praise feels like asking for more of the same, and I do not trust mountain favors. I swallow. My throat complains. Drink, my belly argues. I keep going because forward is simpler than standing. Then come the wind-sculpted days when the valley pretends to be ocean bed, rippled and glittering in a dead man's way. I walk through them like an insect walks across a sleeping lizard's eyelid, careful, because if the eyelid twitches, there is no mercy. I sleep in clefts, where the wind carves the ash thin, where the old black rock holds together and keeps me from sliding into a white sheet. I stack stones around me in 3 humps, the way we do when we wish to say, "Here slept a body that meant to wake." I do wake. I dream less of teeth, more of steps. The steps are new paths, on ridges where the air is thinner and cleaner, and birds, when they try their voices, sing with an edge, as if their songs are knives sharpening on their own throats. Along those ridges I teach myself a new way to count. Steps between good shade, breaths until the cough stops, heartbeats until the fear breaks into usable attention. Fear that remains a scream is a predator. Fear you break and tie to your belt is a tool. During one red evening, I see eyes on the opposite ridge. Not predator yellow, not the cold glow that stares from thicket edges, but a kind of grey patience. The body is like mine, but not mine. Shoulder narrower, skull a different bowl, stride less like a roll and more like a line. The wind tells our smells to one another. We read ash, river, fruit, fear. We do not go toward. We go alongside, like 2 rains that refuse to make one storm. When groups that have never touched each other before share a ridge during ruin, the ridge becomes a page and cautious lines get written. Sometimes those lines cross. Sometimes they remain parallel until both lines end. I choose the path that writes beside without spelling. We share a fig tree at different hours. We use the same rubbing post on a smooth-barked tree, but not on the same day. The mountain watches us like a tired judge. I keep drawing. On basalt cheeks, I sketch the mountain's mouth as a hole filled with teeth. On overhang undersides, I sketch the way the wind moved the ash like an animal's fur brushed backward. And on a smooth boulder near a spring, I make small marks that say, "To any eye that knows hunger, do not sleep where the frogs are quiet." I do not expect gratitude from future eyes. I expect stubbornness, because stubbornness is a kind of thanks without language. There are days when the ash lifts in slow curtains and above, the world shows its old blue. Those days trick you into forgiveness. The mountain smokes politely, as if it were ashamed of its tantrum, and promises to be better company. We bring our bones to the sun and let the skin make new oils. We forget in little bursts. We remember in the sudden absence of someone who wandered 2 bends too far. Then, after the bright apology days, the mountain coughs again. Not like the first cough. A smaller cruelty, a cascade of lahars that run mud down old stream beds, grinding rocks into a paste that shines and then hardens. The paste buries the careful, the careless, the small shrines I scratched. That is the final lesson of catastrophe. It keeps revising you until you are either a new draft or an erasure. I stand on a ledge and watch an entire hill move as if it were a crowd deciding to leave. I let the leaving teach me how to stay. I move north by the measure of stars, because stars do not lie even when they are concealed. I know which ones are the lion's back and which ones are the old woman's hands, dangling their bracelets just above the horizon. I am not the first to trust them. I am the first of my burnt valley to have no one to argue with about their names. Along a brittle ridge, I find a place where the wind sings through a notch and makes a sound like a hollow reed. There I nest for a handful of sleeps. My dreams are less about fire and more about hands. Hands doing deliberate things. Twisting fiber, tossing small nuts into a basin of water to split the floating from the sinking, probing hot ash for roots that baked without burning. Hands are clever, even when heads are slow. The mountain taught feet to fear. It taught hands to plan. Hunger is the other teacher that refuses to soften its lessons. The fruit trees in the spared gullies are fewer than mouths. I chew roots I consider beneath me. I crack more bones, sucking at them until my mouth tastes like knives and old songs. I find a patch of grubs beneath a log that burned on the inside. A cave of fat that wriggles like thought. I scoop them with a flat pebble and my mouth forgets. It ever meant to be particular. Grubs are good because they are humble. They do not pretend to be anything but what they are. And they do not run. On the 12th morning after the first black snow, 12 by my starving measure, which is to say, the number of sunrises that surprised me, I return to the wall with the mountain tooth drawing. The ash has erased parts. I smear new black into the grooves. My hands know the shapes better now. The snake wind bends smoother. The dots that are us have a rhythm. The tongue of the low bowl is thicker. I add a new mark, a circle with a gap on the uphill side. It means sleep here, where air moves through the gap. If you could read it like a script, you might call it a map. We would call it a memory that refuses to disappear quietly. I underline the gap with a ridge line, then rub my fingers until the black shines on the skin between the wrinkles. I want the mark to live in me as well as on the stone. I walk the highways. I find a new water that comes from the ground warm, tasting like rocks arguing. I watch other bodies here, antelope with eyes unnaturally bright from mineral sips, birds dipping quick and leaving quicker. I hold my hands above the seep and let the steam rewrite the ash lines on my palms. Every new place is a mirror, and every mirror shows a smaller tribe standing behind me, quieter every day. There is a night of quiet so profound that it wakes me with its weight. No insects speak, no wind tests the cracks. The mountain must be sleeping the sleep after the rage. In that thick silence, I say the names again. I do it without tears, because tears are water I need for walking. I do it without voice sometimes, because voice wakes things that would rather stay asleep. I shape the names with tongue and teeth and lips, and I let the breath of them brush my fingertips. I touch stone, I transfer a little warmth, I receive a little cold. That trade comforts me in a way nothing else can. Later, many rains later, when green begins to push ash aside like a child shouldering through a door, I see small prints along a ridge that my prints have loved. The prints are not mine, are not them, are cousins of a kind I recognize by the way the heel marks confidence and the toe marks greed. We avoid at first, we test, we leave gifts that are not gifts exactly. Fruit that we gathered in the open where anyone could see, a bone cracked but not licked clean. The mountain is a common language even to those who did not speak the first word of this conversation. When ash lies on your tongue, you do not need grammar to understand a warning. In the seasons that follow, I walk as if I am two people, the one who lives and the one who remembers. The one who lives finds shade with a trick he invented that morning. The one who remembers returns to the old wall weekly to redraw the snake wind and the teeth. I become less hungry for meat and more hungry for meaning. Meaning is a kind of meat you can chew longer. Once, near a salt pan, where the earth is the color of old teeth, the sky breaks open with rain that tastes like rock. It is a rain that carries sand high enough to pelt your eyelids on the underside. The ground turns slick and then scabbed. The prints of 100 animals become a text that reads, hurry, then wait, then hurry. I stand in the rain and let it carve me into a better vessel. I hold my hands out and let them fill. I drink from them, though my mouth is not the thing that thirsts. Time is now measured not by bellies, but by stories the mountain tells when it rolls in its sleep. The far spine of the cone glows at night, a dull red you could mistake for sunset if you were new. I am not new. I can tell the heat of the summit by the silence of the moths. The moths do not know they are barometers, but their absence stings the tongue with knowledge. When the second loud season begins, smaller than the first, a set of rumbles and a night of ash, so fine it is more like breath than dust. I do not panic. I stand and count the heartbeats until fear becomes an animal I can ride rather than one that rides me. I gather 2 stones, a bitter root, the skull that sings, and a piece of bark scratched by a cousin miles away into lines I do not know the meaning of, but recognize as intention. I place them in a gap in a rock above where the winds rub their backs. It is a packet of memory, and it is useless, unless you believe in use beyond yourself. I choose to believe because the mountain taught me the only alternative is to die only once. In the lull after the second season, animals return like rumors, returning to a place that misses them. The jackals wear ash socks and look offended by their own tracking. The lions come with their tails drawing questions in the low fog. The baboons reclaim their mid-slope thrones and shout their names into the wind as if they invented them. I watch them as a ghost watches its neighbors, neither in nor out, a witness with hands. Sometimes I speak the old simple way, because simplicity treats sorrow like a child treats a wounded wing, gently, repeatedly, without any expectation that it will fly tomorrow. I say, I am UK. I am small. I walk, I eat. I do not burn today. I keep going. I keep going. The words are stones I step on to cross the river without getting swept. Between those stones, I tuck the voice that can say, this valley is a ledger, this mountain is an editor. We are a brief chapter with a long footnote chiseled in charcoal. On a high afternoon, when the air shakes with heat and insects beat silver drums over the thorn trees, I find a cave mouth whose lips are folded with old flows. Inside, the ceiling is the underside of a frozen river, swirls and coils paused mid-argument. Along one wall, ancient scratches, not claws, not hooves, run like a fence. I press my fingers to them and something inside me sits down. These are older than the ash, older than my tribe's laughter. Somebody before, another name, another belly, drew their breath across stone and left a trail. The mountain has been erasing and revealing for a long time. I add my snake wind, small, respectful, off to the edge so the old scratches still have the middle. I leave a bead of spit on my fingertip and press it to a dot at the end. That is all the ceremony I have. At last, there is a season that feels like a door opening instead of closing. The fig trees sprout leaves unashamed of their brightness. The frogs return to bowls and shout their names like drunk poets. The water settles into a pattern that forgives. I sleep a whole night without waking, my belly full of roots cooked, where the old flows hold heat like coals under morning ash. The shape of sorrow changes. It becomes an absence I can walk around without falling in. I climb the old wall one more time to darken the teeth. My hands are steady, my heart is steadier. I add one line I have not drawn before. A small mark like a foot with a tiny line pointing up slope from it. It means when the ground growls, go up. The instruction is almost condescending in its simplicity. But simplicity is how you talk to panic. Panic is a child that misunderstands whispers. You have to speak in rocks. When I finish, I sit with my back against the warm face of the basalt and let the sun work on my shoulders. I say my names again, but this time I say them to the future, not to the dead. I say, UK was here. UK learned. UK left marks. UK wants you to read with your feet. Years from now, when the ash layer has been chewed into soil, and the soil into grass, and the grass into bone. When someone with stone brains like mine or sky brains like yours scratches with curiosity at a bank the river cut open, they may find a thin grey sheet that tastes of glass when licked and lies in a straight bright line across the valley's story. They will call it a tephra and count its grains and whisper dates into it. They may also find a basalt cheek with a snake wind and teeth and dots scattered away from a bowl with a thick tongue drawn over it. They will argue whether it is a map or a prayer. They will be right both ways. I stand. I shoulder my small world. I step into the hotter blue, where the mountain is now a thing behind me, like a scar between shoulder blades, always there when I reach back, but no longer the only story my fingers find. I speak the old way because it is a good road to start any journey. I am UK. Warm stone good, berries sweet, belly quiet. Sky big, river talk soft. I walk and I remember. I walk and I leave something that remembers me. There will be more beasts from hell. Some will be made of fire, some of teeth, some of the slow claws of hunger. We will meet them the way small things have always met big things. With stubborn departure, with sideways paths along ridges, with tools made from yesterday's bones, with drawings that pretend to be more than scratches. If the beast kills a tribe, the tribe becomes a sentence inside another tribe's story. If the beast fails, it becomes a lesson we tattoo on stone. Either way, the mountain keeps its own account. Today I count different. I count not by mouths, but by places I taught to someone who is not yet here. The spring by the high fig, good in dry months. The notch where wind sings, safe when frogs go silent. The river bend where heavy air rolls like a slow dog. Do not nap there. I whisper these like charms, and the secret power of them is that they are true. Truth is the only charm that keeps working after the beads rot. At dusk I see smoke far away. Not the mountain's bad breath, but the soft blue of a grass burn done by lightning or spirit or cousin. I do not go to it. I raise both hands, palms out, and let the warm air slip under them. I tell the night I am still here. The night tells me nothing and everything. That is enough. Under a new moon that looks like a tooth from the mountain's mouth, I lie on my side on a ridge bed, and let sleep be kind. In the soften of almost dream, I hear the river practicing tomorrow's song. It repeats a piece I like. Hold fast, let go. Hold fast, let go. My breath learns that music, and I am both on the ridge and in the current, both stone and water, both the mark and the hand that made it. In this balance, the beast from hell is just weather. In this balance, a small biped with a toolbox of scars can be a museum for a future you might one day build and laugh inside. I am UK. I am small. But I remember the mountain, the teeth, the wind that slithered, the bowls where air slept, the words I did not have and the marks I left instead. If you find them, read with your feet. If you cannot read them, climb anyway. If you do not climb, at least do not sleep where the frogs go quiet. If you sleep there, wake quickly and choose the middle of the river. If the river is not there, choose the ridge the wind loves. If the wind loves no ridge, then love your hands. They will draw a path where none is. They will turn fear into a rope. They will take charcoal and say on stone what your mouth cannot. Morning again. Light push eyes open. Little things buzz. I pat chest. I alive. The mountain wears a hat of cloud and pretends it has not bitten us. I do not pretend anything. I stand, I scratch. I grin at the stubborn sun. And I walk until the ash on my ankles becomes dust. Until the dust becomes a memory that does not burn to touch. Until the names I carry feel like fresh fruit again. Somewhere ahead, another wall is waiting. Somewhere behind, a charcoal snake winds on a rock and will wind for as long as stone has patience. That is our tribe now. One mark, one walker, one mountain, turned into a mouth that tells a warning even when no one is there to listen.